Drugs and CVAs. Drugs and CVAs are very, high duty chief complaint in this county. We run since January 1st, we run 33 stroke chief complaints. Cardiac arrest. Since January 1st, May 10th, we run 42 cardiac arrests in the county. Respiratory distress, breathing problems. We have a chief complaint that requires paramedic interventions. We run 106 respiratory distress calls in the county. Overdoses, and actually that number is starting to creep up a little bit. Overdoses come out of Hyde County. We run 14, and then the diabetic emergency hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, we run 31. Looking here at the 2,073 EMS calls for the county, 419 calls have been designated as requires paramedic level service. I'm not saying that there are not other call types that we run in the county, but these 6 call types we know for sure require paramedic level intervention. So that's a pretty high rate of occurrence that require paramedic level service. There's been some discussion on whether a second unit is needed down in the Belhaven area. We pulled some stats in 2015. We pulled it full calendar year from January 1st, 2015 to December 31st, 2015. Second unit designated 461. We're down here transported 114 calls to the hospital. Since the stand-up of Beaufort County EMS paramedic unit stationed at the back, there has not been a request from either White EMS unit stationed in the Belhaven service area to respond to the Bath Township or Pantego Beach. That's now being covered by EMS 6. The reason we put 461 up, from what I've learned, is we had poor response from the volunteer station down in the Bath service area, and 461 helped pick up that slack where we didn't have reliable EMS services. Now we have EMS 6, Beaufort County EMS 6 in Bath. We have not had a request to use a laser request from either one into the Bath service area. So how do we handle the second out call? First of all, let's define what a second out call is. A second out call is defined as a second call that is dispatched to a service area when the primary truck, the primary first out truck, is already assigned to the EMS mission. Okay? The way we plan to handle the request for second out call is through resource management. Okay? Simply explaining what resource management is, that's where the next closest neighboring service area unit, in this case it would be the Bath service area, will come up to a stage point where we cut the distance, the response time between 2 service districts. All right? The goal for the State of Office of North Carolina for time, wheels are rolling, time on the scene. In North Carolina, goal is 8 minutes, 91% of the time. That's response time of 8 minutes, 91% of the time. During high call volumes, many EMS systems across the state of North Carolina, which are not new to Beaufort County, many has used or continues to use some form of resource management to help take the weight off the wait time, the response time, ensure that the second out calls are being covered. Even with resource management in place, so we have resource management of multiple units. There are times inside this county and many systems where there will be more EMS calls than there is number of resources to answer those calls. That's just the way our line of work does. What do we do in that case? Just like we did last week in Hyde County, when there are more EMS calls and resources to handle, our neighboring EMS systems come in and help. answer those second or third out calls. And in turn, just like we did last week, we go and help our neighboring EMS systems where they get high call volume times. I'm going to show you the next couple slides. I'm going to show you how the resource management is designed to be used. The way the resource management is used with the one truck system down here, well, we have our QRV Paramedic 3, which is a fully docked and equipped paramedic level QRV. If Belhaven unit is on a call, Medic 3 will move up to Northeast Elementary School. EMS 6 will move up to the old Bath Community Building. Now we're cutting their response time down. If Belhaven unit and EMS 6 is on the call, Medic 3 will move up to the old gas station Safeway, Speedway to cover the response in that area. If Belhaven and Medic 3 are on a call, just like it is right now, EMS 6 moves up to Northeast Elementary School, just like they're doing right now. That's happening right now as we speak. If all units are on call, dispatch is going to dispatch out the next closest unit. That may be a Hyde County unit, that may be a Washington County unit, that may be somebody from Washington, that may be Broad Creek. The next closest unit is coming to answer that EMS call.
So we're talking about 30 minutes.
It could be. Yeah, but that is when, again, when there's more requests for EMS services than we have in place.
That's good if they're picking you up about that. You know what I mean?
It's maybe a little difficult to see. I starred out the right here. This will be stage point number 1. This will be the old Bath Community Station, elementary school, right here at the old gas station. As you can see how this reduces response times covering 2 zones at one time. Let's see what our breakdown of EMS services look like. Again, this date range was pulled from January 1, 2016 to May 10, 2016. In the Belhaven Incorporated limits, had 82 requests just inside the incorporated limits. We had requests from the rest of the Pantego Township of 50 calls for a total in this pool time 132 calls. Out of these 82 calls in the Belhaven town limits, or incorporated limits, how many did we go to the clinic and pick up? 25 clinic calls, and these are residents of the township. We're total number of clinic calls where the residents are outside, or have an address outside of the county. Most of these are Hyde County residents. There's been 8 requests. That's out of that 132 call responses for the school period. How do we stack up with the rest of the paramedic units in the county? Well, if you see Aurora, they have 1 paramedic unit on the line, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They've answered 114 calls. Most of those transports are outside the county. They transport to a destination hospital, depending on the closest available, closest hospital to the address, or going to Carolina Eastern. Broad Creek, 1 paramedic unit on the line. In that same pool period, they answered 275 calls. Okay. Jock-Warren, 1 paramedic EMS 911 unit. These are 411 911 calls, not transports. These are 911 calls coming through the 911 system. 1 paramedic unit. Pantego Beach, basic level EMS squad volunteer at 11. Pine Town Rescue, basic level unit 41. Washington Fire and EMS, they have one full-time paramedic unit, one intermediate unit, but they have a paramedic on an engine. So that's considered 2 paramedic units, 1,050 EMS call now. EMS calls during that time range. And local county EMS, 1 paramedic unit, 2 QRVs, 134 calls in this school period. And I believe that's brief information that the board, this board asked statistics on. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Your staging model to pull that slide back up.
Okay.
The taking Belhaven back to one truck and staging other vehicles to be closer to Belhaven, they have to move this way to be ready to respond to something if it happens here.
Right.
How does that, in theory, work better than just having 2 trucks in Belhaven and letting them go toward the hospital when they get a call?
Okay, well, really good question. Okay. That truck right there, I've got that truck on the line. EMS 6 is on the line, Medic 3 is on the line 24 hours a day. Okay. If that first truck goes out, takes the EMS truck and without Belhaven area takes a patient to the hospital. This truck down here is sitting at the station. We're paying that truck to sit at the station waiting for the next call to come out. If I'll pull them up here and set them in the stage point, okay? I've got a crew that we're paid for, they're on the duty to answer the bell. I've got their wheels rolling now to the Belhaven area, or for that matter, anywhere in Pantego Township. I've got resources already moving towards where the potential EMS call may come from.
How about if they're already on the call then? Say,
Well, like I'm saying, we've got 3 resources. We have EMS unit here in Belhaven, I have EMS 6 that's in Bath, and I have a full paramedic level QRV in the Bath area.
Explain to everybody what QRV is so that we'll all know.
Paramedic level QRV is a paramedic level resource with all paramedic level drugs, all paramedic level equipment. It is staffed with an experienced paramedic. That paramedic can roll on scene and start treatment and stabilization of a patient waiting for a transport unit to come. Or, like it is right now, it's a secondary paramedic resource where more than one paramedic needs to handle the call line, such as a cardiac arrest. We need more than one paramedic to take care of a cardiac arrest.
But these are the SUVs.
Yes, sir. These are Explorer, the Mark Explorers, and they're wound up. Those are resources that are not revenue generating resources by nature. They're an expense by nature, but the expense is already paid for those 2 QRVs on one on the north side and one on the south side by the ability to get that paramedic on scene to a high acuity, a high severe call nature to start the transport, start the treatment, start the stabilization of one of those 6 high acuity paramedic calls.
I think we've got a question.
I got a question. Say you have one ambulance in Belhaven, and it goes to Washington.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have a call. You're going to send out your emergency vehicle from where?
That's, as soon as that call, that Belhaven truck is
Our
towed.
truck's out, right? Going.
Okay, they've been toned. Just as soon as they've been toned, EMS 6 leaves Bath, goes to their standby point. They leave their Bath station. They go to their standby point, which cuts half.
Well, now we got a patient down here, and you got a hospital. You got a man up, going to Washington. The man to Belhaven, he needs help. Now you're going to bring the guy. You're going to bring that fast car from Bath to Belhaven. Is that right?
Soon as the tones drop for that Belhaven unit to go out on a call. These two trucks down here in Bath start moving. QRV goes to their stage point, the ambulance goes to their stage point.
How long does it take them to get from Bath to here?
It's from that stage point that we put them at, it's less than 12 miles from where we're at right now.
So it takes you 12, it takes you 15 minutes.
From right here, 12 miles.
It takes 15 minutes.
To this
15.
place, could be to some of the areas.
Okay.
But remember, we look back, 91% of the time, the state of North Carolina says we should have a unit on scene 8 minutes, 91% of the
Okay,
time.
but that man you just sent out, he just went on that ambulance to Washington with
No.
another call. Because you needed his services on that ambulance that went to Washington.
Yes, sir.
Now the guy in Bath, he's on that ambulance. Where are you gonna get your other man out?
What I'm saying is I have one full-time ambulance loaded down in Bath.
Then you
I
got
have
you got your man with a fast car on that ambulance.
Correct. I still have this
Okay.
unit at this point.
Well, where'd he come from? See, explain.
This one.
See, my question is, see, last night we had a call. It wasn't serious, but it could have been. And it was at least 30 minutes before I seen one of those fast cars.
That's because
And the ambulance was also late.
And that's because we never got dispatched. I responded to that. I was on that call. We did not get dispatched, and I left from.
How long were you getting there?
Excuse me?
How long would it take you to get there?
That was coming from Washington. I came from Washington.
Right.
At that point. But again, we listened to the call, listened to the boaters were in the water. We were not dispatched.
Right.
We self-dispatched to that call, and we were actually canceled en route.
Right.
We continued on to
Well, that all sounds good as you put it down there, but when it actually comes into effect, it's not as good as it sounds. Well, I rest my case. Okay?
Yes, sir.
You keep talking about your cutting response times, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, actually, you're increasing all response times because you got rid of 2 ambulances. So you're in here talking about your cutting response times. You're talking about cutting response times from a disaster of just having 1 ambulance here. So what we have right now and what you're going to implement, you're increasing response times, not cutting. Because right now we have 2 ambulances that can get on scene right away. What you're doing is you're getting rid of the second ambulance, and then you're having somebody come from Bath instead of somebody being to Belhaven for that second call. And there's over 100 second calls a year here in this town. And all these people now are already giving up the golden hour by waiting, calling the rescue squad, wait for the rescue squad to get there. Got to go half an hour to get to the hospital. Now you're adding another 10, 15 minutes to those calls. And when you have people that have already had a half an hour to 45 minutes eat up because of distance and because of violence for not closing our hospital, you have a situation where people's golden hour is gone. What you're doing is, in fact, taking the last 15 minutes of the golden hour away from everybody in this area. That's what you do.
And it's not in Washington, we're going to have to agree.
I don't mean to disagree with you, Mayor, but actually, I think that what we're doing is cutting down the response times. We're not
You're
increasing.
saying that the response times we have in Belhaven right now, that when you get rid of one of our ambulances, the response times won't go down.
No, what I'm saying is.
That's what you just said.
I'm saying, you're saying I'm going to increase response times. I'm saying
From what they are right now.
But let's look at this picture right here too as well. We already have 1 paramedic level ambulance in the Belhaven area. Now I'm responding with multiple paramedic level resources. 1 quick response vehicle, 1 paramedic level ambulance, and now a standby ambulance.
Well, and I would submit to you that it's far greater to have 2 intermediate ambulances here than to have 1 paramedic here and 1 that can get here when they can. You know, come as quick as they can. I'm not trying to belittle that. But what I'm saying is the golden hour is being eaten up by this getting rid of this ambulance. Furthermore, I don't think your numbers are right. I'm going to talk about that at the end of that. But it's important that these numbers be correct. And I'm concerned that these numbers have been shaded in a way to try to justify something that's unjustifiable. We have a bigger geographic area here to cover. including Hyde County, than Aurora or Rock Creek or Chocowin's got more denser population. But then we've got also smaller geographically. So we have a situation that is unique, and I think what's going on here, which I'll talk about later, is, some looking at numbers that are not accurate. But I'm gonna get into that when I give you a chance to talk.
I can tell you this, and what it is, I added this source, and I thought the numbers would be challenged. I added the sources, these numbers come straight from the state of North Carolina reporting system. Every EMS call that is run in the state of North Carolina is automatically, we can't manipulate that, we can't stop that. It's automatically sent to the state of North Carolina, and every one of these calls have been personally read and verified that these are.
When I get done speaking, the media can go see whose numbers are.
All right.
I'd like to know how many, I'm on a life and death situation. And when you're talking about so many calls are being reached and they're rerouted and whatever, is it true that y'all are sent to Greenville like those Washington? Okay, well, what are the life and death numbers that go along with these calls?
I think there's confusion on the transport destinations requirements that the state of North Carolina put into play. Those requirements where we're transporting straight to Greenville. And actually, this is outside of a straight transport to Greenville. It's 50 miles from the house to the PCI center. This is more than 50 miles to Greenville from the center out here. They're required, if my paramedics indicate by assessment and by EKG that you are having a heart attack, okay? It is required to be transported to a facility that does heart catheterizations, bypassing all of the little hospitals straight to a heart catheterization tank. Okay? Now, what I'm saying is, right here is outside of that 50-minute transport time. So in Belhaven, we would not be going, because it's more than 50 minutes travel time from the house to Greenville. What we would be looking at is for medical resources that will cut down that response time. 90 from the PCI requires from time of 12-lead acquired stenting or heart attack to a procedure of balloon, 90 minutes. So there's no way I can get somebody from Belhaven by ground inside that 90-minute window. So that hospital in Belhaven, I have not heard whether they're going to have cardiology, where they have interventional catheterization done 24 hours a day, so I can't answer that.
Don't you have to stabilize the person first?
Stabilization can be maintained by the paramedics.
Stabilization, there is any emergency room?
The
best stabilization there can be is not in the emergency room.
I'm not willing to make that determination. I can tell you my paramedics all have the ability to stabilize the patient and transport. However, if somebody is vital signs are unstable, we will definitely not be taking that patient without making sure that patient is stabilized.
So the unstable renal tank, that's
The closest appropriate facility.
for the where?
At this point, it would be Washington.
There's a cardiologist on staff.
They can do stabilization, get the patient vital signs stabilized before they're moved on to the catheterization.
How much time involved in
If the patient is too unstable to run by ground, and again, I'll come back here. This window, we're outside the window of ground transportation for that work. But inside the window, if the patient's unstable, then we'll take them to an emergency or close to purpose facility for stabilization, and then transport will be made from there. But from here, we have somebody having a heart attack. We identify her having a heart attack. We're trying to use their medical resources. If that is not the case, like later this afternoon, then we transported by ground to the body.
I also have a question about your call numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make a call from the church and all the church of Washington County that is down at campground for the weekend. Because your call also included my call to Belhaven County, which they were transferring straight to Hyde County, which is additional 20 minutes away from the.
These are EMS calls that have been dispatched and transported by the system.
And by the way, I've never heard back from you from the person in Hyde County.
again, like I was saying, that call came from Hyde County, and I relayed the information to the EMS director, as manager. It's in his county. I have no jurisdiction in his county. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question to ask. If you just got one hero, let's say, and somebody called in and they need that truck, I got an outlet, and I'm at life drinking, and in 15 minutes, when my thing goes off, I need care. But if you got nobody left here, how would I get that care? How would I get it? I got 15 minutes to get to somebody. And if the other truck is gone,
Yeah.
but the ones where you come from back or other places, it take them too long to get there.
Let me ask you this. How far is your address from Northside Elementary School?
I stay right in Belhaven.
Okay, so when we say that that's inside, would that unit be at Northside Elementary, would that be inside that 15-minute when you're describing? I'm not sure of the dynamics. I can't answer.
Well, they have to hook me up as soon as they, I got 15 or 20 minutes.
Northeast Elementary School, so I can't answer the dynamics. I know that that resource will be, as soon as that unit in Belhaven is dispatched, these two other units have already got wheels rolling.
But wouldn't it be better if we had just two, so somebody else could come to help me?
You're still gonna have the help.
Yes, but I got 15 minutes
You still have the help.
when this goes off for somebody to get to me.
You guarantee she's gonna have help within 15 minutes.
We will have a paramedic resource to you as quickly as we possibly can.
Yesterday with the voting accident, you've been there in 15 minutes?
They did not know.
Yes, I would have, because at that point, EMS 6 has been sitting down in Bath. Out of Bath into community or that crossroads. Yes, it is.
Yesterday, did you get here 15 minutes?
I did not. I self-dispatched I just left the county commissioners meeting. I left the city of Washington. And I got here, and that's before the voters even made it too short. I was here.
But we're talking about her situation, so you wouldn't have been here 15 minutes.
Not me personally, okay? But what I'm saying is, the EMS 6, to answer your question, Mayor, EMS 6 would have gotten here if they're the ones that responded from those crossroads.
If they weren't.
They would have, like I'm saying, they would have been, if Belhaven, that Belhaven truck was not in play, if they were not able to answer the call, at the time of the dispatch tone for that Belhaven truck, these trucks moved.
But then if my heart stopped, because they didn't get to me in time,
I'm just,
I think what she's pointing at is we got planting seasons. Okay, everything around here works on seasons. Okay, right now you got a lot of tractors, you got a lot of traffic on the road. You cannot guarantee anything in that nature when you've got that much traffic running around.
I would say the weather conditions also would hinder
Yes,
some
sir.
response times
Yes,
as
sir.
well.
But the big picture is now that you're taking one of the EMSs out of Belhaven, okay, we're looking at a baseball game, okay? 3 strikes out, okay? So basically, you ain't even got the 3 strikes no more. You done took one of our strikes away, okay? Now, how many more of these strikes are we gonna take away before we realize that we don't need, where our time crunch is coming in, is the closest hospitalization, the closest emergency room, the closest one that can get to us. We've got one ambulance here in Belhaven, we've got a hospital, okay, or emergency room that he can transport within 5 minutes to that emergency room, okay? And then he can be ready for the next one, okay? God forbid that we have 15 or 20 patients at one time, and your 1, 2, 3 is not gonna cut it. Then we'll need 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10 or 20. And I mean, the thing is things happen every day. Okay? I was down in Pantego and this little boy got bit by a snake. Now, true, the snake wasn't poison. How was I to know that? I didn't even see the snake. The snake got away. I rushed this boy down here to this little Band-Aid they got sitting over here, okay? And they didn't know how to respond. I like went out of my mind thinking that I let this little boy down. It was an hour before they transported him to Washington and found out the snake wasn't poison.
And you're explaining a very, very deep concern. I'm not taking the concerns lightly. You have a very deep concern. I understand that concern. But you know, we ought to look at how do we hopefully cover all the requests for EMS services.
You can.
Okay. And you know, how do we do it with the resources we got?
Admit it, you can't.
Well, we shouldn't be doing behind, we should be at least holding our own.
But when you take out these key elements, hospital, emergency room, first responders, when you take out those key elements, that's what adds to that I can't. Okay.
I can't argue with that.
The way
I
we-
cannot argue with your.
Yes, sir.
with
But the way we
with
go
your-
backwards from that, okay, in the plus instead of in the minus, is that we get the necessary hospitalization and mercy and everything in this area as opposed to trying to transport. That answers transport, okay? The thing is, things break down. It's a mechanical situation.
Sure.
Okay? We are dependent on those trucks. God forbid one of those trucks break down in the middle of an emergency, you know, where either they haven't gotten to that patient yet, or they've got him on there, but now they can't get to where they need to get to let them out and get to the next one.
And to help what my goal is, and what the goal of Beaufort County EMS is to ensure we provide paramedic level care to all the citizens of this county,
Yes, sir.
whatever time of day or night it's going to be.
Yes, sir.
And we'll break our back making sure that happens.
And I'll try to give you my full support.
If I can intervene, I think we know what the sentiment of our audience is at this point in time. I thank you for the presentation. What I would also like to do is, I think we've all heard and seen some of the details from last night's meeting. If you would take a second or two and go over the immediate impacts of White turning things over to the county and what we will start seeing and when we will start seeing the change. I think everybody here would appreciate that information.
As everybody knows, there was a development that came up yesterday morning. Mr. Met in my office, and the county manager come over, and this is a business decision was made by White Oak, and I'll let Mr. White address that if they like. What he offered to the county was the county to be able to transition with paramedic level services by selling his assets to the county, so that June 1st, we'll be able to transition and to continue paramedic level services in this county, in this service area. A lot of the same paramedics, a lot of the same crew members have every one of Mr. White's employees have an opportunity, and invite them to have an opportunity to come in and apply for a county position. I've already been reached out by at least 5 of his personnel now. So what we're intending to do is bring on some of the same crew that you're seeing already. The difference will be uniform shirt may be a different color, and sooner or later required by State Office EMS, it will be striped with county colors, but it's actually going to be the same helmets that you're riding in today. That should be a very, come midnight on June the 1st, when the tones are dropped for EMS requests in this area, it'll be with A lot of the same crew members you're seeing today, but it'll be under the employee of the county. So that there should be seamless transition of EMS services. Just the colored ambulance may be any difference in the color of the shirt.
And one truck.
Mr. White, would you like to add?
Yes, I would like to say something. I know the people of Belhaven hate me for what I do. This is a business I had to do because I found last week, I knew ahead of time that they was going to cut one of my trucks out. I already knew that. That was coming. And my people that works for me, that morale have got bad. Derek, am I right? He's one of them. They didn't know whether they had a job, what they did. All I did was open the opportunity for the employees to work down here, to go ahead and make sure to open up the door for them to have a job. If I kept on going, I felt like which way it was going to go. I was going to lose one truck, half the employees. They wouldn't have a job. Sometime later on this year, probably a second truck. So as a business person, I felt like it's best for me and the employees down here to go forward where the county wants to go. Nothing against, I thank the world, Belhaven, mayor, town manager. I've been down here 6 years. I have done everything they asked me to do. I cannot remember anything. I have gone beyond sometimes what they asked me to do. I hope everything goes good in the future. If it's any support I can do, I want to do it. No hard feelings to the town or the county. It's just a decision I had to do yesterday before the meeting today and go forward on it. Because at this point, I felt like with the rumors out, that I'm probably going to start losing people. They're going to start looking jobs elsewhere. And I could not continue on operating 2 trucks down here like we were doing with employees. If I was an employee down here, I'd probably be looking for a job too, not knowing the future. So that's why I did what I did. No hard feelings.
Thank you.
If I got any questions, like to ask me before I sit down.
Ricky,
Yes, sir.
do you have any comments on the numbers as far as what's been presented this morning and what you've seen?
The only thing out different, I know, John, you mentioned the premises stuff. You know, the premises did have some issues with today. This year, I think you got a number, but it was like 200 or so calls we have already answered this year. No, that's right, 2. I pulled up before I come here. I've got that, you were off by 100 or so.
And that was, your premise reporting was off by a month and a half.
That's correct. That's correct. The premises did have some issues anyway, but real numbers, when you're off, so that really is not fair for the citizens to know these numbers.
But this is what, I went and called the premise to make sure that.
Well, maybe she called me, I'll give you exact numbers.
What about the transports on that second truck?
This year,
No, that, 2015.
that's about correct. I think it's around 114 or so that sucker truck had go. But remember, the sucker truck did go out and help them, like this morning, they had code. The sucker truck went down and helped them on that. Okay, and anything in the city limits here, our sucker truck always go to help out the extra team to do anything. We've been doing that anyway. And especially when we work, you know, football season will be coming up later on. We always have to put a truck in the football game while those trucks stay in town. So, there's got a lot of events coming up. 4th of July, I always got the mud ford and the parade and everything here. I had 2 trucks available then to cover it. Matter of fact, a couple of years, I had brought a 3rd truck, and ones that here to help out on the high volume times when events happen. Yes, sir.
As a citizen of Belhaven and a fireman, I want to thank you guys for all your services. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't know what we're going to do when you need us. Now, I hear all this stuff that they're putting on us, but they could not take your place.
That's right. Well, I tell you, 6 years ago when we come here, the first 6 months was tough because we have people follow us everywhere we go, watching every move we make.
We know who you're talking about.
I didn't call her name, but anyways, we try to provide this here. We ain't perfect, but you ain't gonna show you a perfect service. No way. The county or nobody. They gonna make mistakes. Yes, sir.
As another citizen of Belhaven, I thank you again also for considering the jobs, considering the position that these people, these employees are being put in, okay? And you taking that into consideration.
Well, I'm looking out for employees. I want to make sure everyone of them do have a job. If the county do not hire them, I'm gonna make sure they have a job, and we thank you.
Okay, I think the next item of business would be for us to discuss as a board, agreement between the town of Belhaven and Beaufort County. Brian, have you got some comments, or do you want to?
I mean, in the discussions that we had previously, there was some, the way this all came about with, initially the one truck coming in and then the agreement with this board between the county commissioners and the town board, which to bring the second truck online. And of course, you had all that went through, there was, this group would kind of manage that. There is an overarching EMS oversight group that looks after the EMS services across the entire county. The discussion we had at the last meeting was, and I think you mentioned that as well, the role of this group. If there is a substantial, if the town of Belhaven says we want a second truck and we're willing to pay for that second truck, and that truck stays here, then I think the county commissioners would entertain that. Right now, the recommended budget, based on the numbers, has recommended that one truck and be able to back up the rest of it with existing resources because of numbers, because of cost. And I know that's not, there's a difference in what you want to be able to staff it and what you can afford to staff it. And we talked about that last week. From our perspective, you can't staff to a level where you can provide resources for everything that happens. You just can't do it. You can't afford to do it. And it's a very tough decision to say, we're going to do something because of that impact. And what we try to do is be able to back up that, and they were backing it up across the entire county. And this isn't something, the concept isn't different across any of the other agencies. When those agencies go out, the other agencies move over to assist. So that's the whole night, that's the way that works. But it's a funding issue. It is, I mean, we talked about this last week. It is a funding issue. And if there are additional resources that can be brought to the table, then there are additional resources that can be put in play. Those resources are not at the table. So that's kind of
How much
what
does
it
it
is.
cost for maybe 3 years, a year? Yeah. One guy, all of them.
Well, QRV runs, I think that stack is about 300,000. Is that right? 225.
One.
That's a paramedic 24 hours a day with all the equipment.
In the SUV.
And the SUV. And then there's probably some capital costs. If you look at what the personnel costs are and then the supply costs, it's less than that.
How many of them?
On the QRVs, there are 4 paramedics in those that have 4 shifts that are covered 24 hours a day.
I mean, how many do you?
There's a scheduling bath, and then there'll be a vehicle here. So there'll now be 2 vehicles, and they're staffed with 4 paramedics and 4 intermediate basics. So you've got 8 total per station.
Now, in the presentation, I think John said that the goal for the whole state is 8 minutes, 91% of the time response. And we just were told that we'd be looking at a 15-minute response if the other truck is busy.
To this, and I preface that from that standby location to where we're at right now, probably
I'm new to, I haven't seen any reports or anything that won't give it to me, but just in listening to this formulation of a plan where we intend to use the parking lot of a convenience store or gas station for a staging area for an EMS truck. Do we have permission from HES to do that? Has all the ramifications of that? Just let me speak to this part. The other situation was an elementary school. We're talking about using the elementary school parking lot for a staging area where it is adorned with slow down, can't speed, no, you can't go fast here. You got hundreds of kids playing. You got school buses that are coming transitioning twice a day. I mean, how much thought was put into that? You stage an EMS truck from a parking lot of the elementary school? Come on.
I think there's a lot of consideration that was put into that. I mean, I think that,
How about the speed limit?
I think what our folks look at is where's a location that's a recognized location. Now, does that location need to be moved up, moved around? As we understand the system, we get better numbers on where the calls are. I mean, part of the piece of all this is it's still very new. The entire system is still very new. We've got to clearly understand where the calls are, where the numbers are, and adjust those. I mean, we're going to do that overall with the entire system to look at where the best places for ambulances to be. I mean, if you look at larger cities and where they live, I mean, they'll park their ambulances on the side of the road and wait because they know where those anticipated calls are. The system staff, they know how that works. So we've got a lot, but we still got to learn about the system. And that's part of what we do is as we move through the years, they understand where they need to be. And if they need to move a little closer here or there, based on the call volume, because as the population changes and as the population moves, then those call volumes will move as well. So it's a constantly evolving process. I mean, we're not saying we have all the answers.
Well, I'm asked to be on the board that is for the folks in Belhaven, city limits and the environment. Not that I don't have concerns with the rest of the county, but that's my main focus, and those two things are pretty glaring.
Yes. No, I understand that. And again, you know, what we've got to do is look at the system. And I understand, I mean, we have the same conversation in the city of Washington. You know, and the city of Washington is staffing 2 trucks. They're paying for every bit of that, staffing all that themselves. And we do get into those conversations about, well, you know, we want something to stay here, but we've also got to back up each other so that we're looking at a county-wide system to help we provide that resource across the entire county. But I clearly understand that when folks have ownership of something, you know, that's where they want it to stay.
So in talking about an agreement between the town and Beaufort County, what exactly is expected of the town of Belhaven in this agreement?
Well, I don't know. I mean, initially, the conversation was, last meeting with this group was that if this board was put in place initially because the contract between White Oak was with this board.
No, the contract was with the county.
The contract was with this board. The contract was being paid by the county, but the contract with Ricky was with this board. And that was one of the concerns we had, was because this board had no assets. The county was funding it, the town of Belhaven was contributing, the tax dollars were paying for it, but this board had no assets. And if everything, you know, that was Rick and I had that conversation. So the idea was that what we wanted to do, if the arrangement stayed the way it was, and we provided the service for a contract agreement with a private party, then what we had said was, if the funding stays the same, then the county needs to have a contract with the private, and then there needs to be an interlocal agreement between the two local governments about how that would work. So that's how that works.
Okay, so now that the county-wide oversight committee is met and that's been published, and there's been an emergency meeting last night, and the county is going to assume full tilt of the emergency services June the 1st. What do we need to do in terms of an interlocal agreement between the town and the county?
Let me say something, Ron. The main thing, the way I envision this working is pretty much the same way the community service in Bath works. And the community service in Bath, well, they were volunteer. For various reasons, they could not answer their calls, so we took them over, and we're running them. And they are a division of the county. I envision that the same thing will happen here. That we bought White Oak stuff, they will become a division of the county, we'll run them. We will go to, and until the situation with the taxes works out, the the only entity in community service area that's not paying EMS tax now is the municipality of Bath. We will approach them and ask them to pay the tax. And we will ask Pantego to do that too. The one thing that we would ask you to do is to continue to pay the tax until we can make adjustments, maybe in 2017. The 5-cent tax, which you're paying back, which you decided you would pay now. I was disagreeing on that. But as far as I envision it as a commissioner, and I can't speak for all the commissioners, you got another commissioner sitting there, you may have a completely different idea, that basically the EMS in Belhaven and surrounding area now, Pantego, are employees of the county and will be under the county director. What we would ask to do is let them stay housed where they are now. So I guess of you, we would have two requests: keep your 5-cent tax and give it to us, and let them stay housed where they are, at least for the time being. And good. Maybe you want to add to that.
Well, no, I really don't, other than to say one thing. The biggest problem in all of this is when Biden shut down the emergency room in Belhaven. If you can get the emergency room open, admittedly a new emergency room reopening in Belhaven will not be able to do hard catheterizations, but you can put enough equipment in there. My estimate is so that you can take care of 90% of the risk that's out there now if you can bring people to an emergency room in Belhaven. So the fact that these 4 people will not let this hospital reopen, these are the people who are denying you the health services that we're talking about today, and you need to be talking directly to those people because they can do it under the terms of the contract when Biden needed this place back to them. That's your big problem. Once that's open, everything that we're talking about here today, 90% of this goes away. An emergency room can take care of 90% of your heart attack, stroke type problems until you can get them airlifted to Greenville. So this is a real problem, and of course we've got to work out services until we can get where we can get the emergency room reopened.
In light of all of the comments leading up to what you just said, Mr. Richardson, is there a chance that the county commissioners would step forward and make an endorsement to have our hospital open so that we don't have to transport people for hours when they're having emergency service issues and needs? I mean, this is an ongoing thing, and it's like we're in denial. We're in denial that we need a hospital until we need a hospital. And then now we're going to sit here in this meeting and say that if we open the emergency room, it will cure all our problems with the ambulance service. How much money are we going to spend putting people on wheels when we need a facility right here in town?
Well, at the last board meeting, the board heard a presentation from the gentlemen who were with the hospital, and they essentially asked the board, we need you to essentially get out of the way. And the board said, we're not in the way. We don't own the property. We don't have anything to do with it. We encourage you to move forward, and we're happy. The board, as I recall, the board said, we're not in the hospital financing business, though. And they said, we don't need your money. We don't want your money. We want to buy the facility and move forward. And the board of commissioners said, please move forward. Have it. So, I mean, there was a misconception on their part. It wasn't the two commissioners that speak to that, because they asked us, they said, you've got a certificate that we need. And we said, no, we don't. The town of Belhaven has that certificate of need that y'all work to make sure they have. So they thought that somehow we had that. One of the gentlemen said, in fact, he's the first gentleman that's knew that, and he said, y'all had talked about it. And then the second gentleman that stood up said, well, we need that certificate. And he said, we don't have it. The town of Belhaven has it. He goes, oh, well, it's not an issue. We just wasted 15 minutes talking about this. So, we sent you the link to that so you can watch it, because y'all hadn't seen that.
Well, I just want to make it clear at this meeting that these issues are directly related to each other. And then we would have no need to talk about how long it's gonna take to get from Bath to Belhaven if the hospital was open.
Well, it is a puzzle. I'm on the board for the new hospital, new hospital in Belhaven. And if it winds up being a different scenario, that's fine with me. But for the 2 years that I worked on this, it is a puzzle to me why 4 people who are residents of this community, know all the people in this community, are so hidebound to deny a hospital for Belhaven. You can slice this any way you want to slice it. But if you can get 4 people to sign a piece of paper, your problems are over with. So why are they killing you? You need to ask them.
That's it.
So,
But until that happens, because we told that guy the other night when he came, we don't have a dog in your fight. You got your certificate down there, you got everything you need. Like Brian said, have at it, we're all for you. We hope you can open that hospital. But until that happens, the reality is what it is. And
so in summing up where we're at, old business-wise this morning, with all of the changes that have transpired since our last meeting with relation to White Oak bowing out to the county and the county putting one truck, we still need to put nuts and bolts together of an interlocal agreement and have it presented to our town council. So how do we want to move forward as a group, as a board, in taking this step?
my suggestion to you would be, you and Brian and Jonathan and sit down and hash out an agreement. And bring it back to this board for us to approve. Is that what you want to think, Brian?
I mean, I don't think it's any different than the agreement we have with the town of Bath and you to rent their facility, you and I talked about it. I mean, we certainly anticipate that there's going to be a request for that. We're certainly willing to do that.
Okay, that being said, what are the wishes of this board?
There's a little bit of difference in what's going on in Bath and what's going on in Belhaven. In regards to, the county's paying Bath and the town has a taxpayer-owned building out there that we're allowing you to use without cost.
And that's what I was talking about, that we put money in the budget to pay for that.
All right,
So, and that's why we would,
those things would have to be done.
we would envision that to be something in that nature.
From my standpoint, I would think that some sort of agreement with longevity would be involved in it, not just at the whim of however long it'll work or whatever. We put down some chronological guidelines about how long that agreement would last.
Do you think we can work that agreement back into the idea of providing a building for that ambulance to be housed in? Because I'm sure that's still going to be a concern, maybe rather than rent.
I mean, I think there are a few things that need to be looked at on those lines. I think Rick can express some concerns about where he is right now with the backside of the building, the things that are going on, being rented out, and late night kind of stuff, and his guys not being there. So,
Now, the other, concern of going from 2 to 1 ambulance does come back to service, and what we do in the meantime. What are our options for being able to resurrect this conversation and talk about it after we get some experience with it and see what we're going to have? What are our options for being able, once we see what we've got and how it's working, to tweak it and make adjustments?
I mean, I think those options are always there. It's simply a revenue issue. And if there's a revenue source that will stand up and say, we'll pay for that second ambulance, then I think the board of commissioners would say, absolutely, we'll put it in play. But right now, there's not a revenue source to do that.
Does Roy have, they have two trucks?
One paramedic, one paramedic above you.
Right now,
Rogers has two.
One creek has none.
my understanding right now is Washington is the only one who has 2 staff paramedic trucks. They run about 3,000 calls a year.
Correct.
Well, Roy has one.
War has one truck, we already has.
But they have a EMT or a safe truck?
It's not, no, they only staff 1 unit in Washington. turn that way.
How about the river, individual?
No,
They just have one truck.
Just have one, they've got one truck a day.
And overall, if you look at the model nationwide, especially in rural areas, the model is for cost efficiency, is to move, because not only is it for getting the level of care to someone more quickly, but also for the model of efficiency and money, because it's all a money issue. It is all about what it costs to provide medical service, and it's expensive. That model is that you look at putting quick response vehicles at the paramedic level out in rural areas where they can quickly get to the call, start the stabilization, start the work, and then then you don't have to have as many ambulances. You can have fewer ambulances because then they're moving to the call, because the first 15, 20 minutes on scene, the paramedics will be doing everything that needs to be done then, and they stabilize the patient, then the ambulance pulls up and load them together. So that's the model that works well, especially in rural areas, because you can't afford to put an ambulance every 20 miles. You've got to figure out a way to do it where you can get the level of care to the person or to the patient, and then have that other resource coming as quick as you can. And that's what we're facing with in a rural setting. I mean, we got a huge county, we've got a river that cuts right through the middle of it, so we've got a lot of geographic issues. We've got a lot of distance issues. And again, it's balancing that out. How do you pay for it all? I mean, if you want to put an ambulance at every crossroads, you can do it. It just costs a lot of money. And how do you afford to do that? And again, I get it. I mean, one life is worth every bit of that. I clearly understand that. But the hard reality is how do you pay for that?
Okay. So I guess what we need to do is come up with this interlocal agreement between the county and the town, work out the details, and get something ready to present to the commissioners and the town council.
That would be my suggestion to you.
And the time frame for doing that.
We've got a draft agreement that we have with the other, I mean, because this is not something different than what we have an agreement in place with other places that we're renting space from to use it. So there's a little bit of tweaking about some other things that you may want to look at, but I don't think it's too terribly difficult for us.
Is there a time frame that we can work within to bring this back to the Pantego Belhaven EMS board as a group?
I think it's your next meeting, I would it won't take you and I long to put that together and then get back, because it probably, like I say, needs to come through here, I guess. That becomes the question, is do you have an intermediary here, or are we just dealing between the city and the county? You know what I mean?
Well, I think this is an intermediary, and we certainly have an audience, and we have interested people, but I do think from a pre-audit condition, it needs to be an agreement between the county and the town council, so.
No, I would agree with that, absolutely. I mean, if we've got a lot of things that have been put in place over the years, and the handshakes and word of mouth, and you know, they need to be in writing, they need to be on paper and clear, so that if everybody knows exactly what it is.
Now, our next meeting, Lisa, would be when?
Well, we've kind of gotten off schedule because we've had some meetings in between. And actually, our next meeting needs to be our annual meeting, which we have to do every year. And we were supposed to do it in April because we had to do back-to-back meetings with healthcare and that. So really, it's at the board's pleasure, whatever you want to do the next meeting, because we're off of our schedule completely.
Anybody got a suggestion on when they'd like to see us bring this together? Steve?
Do you consider budget time on that?
I think we'd all like to get this in next year's budget, if possible.
Well, let's say, we've put money in the budget
To continue what we're
to
doing.
continue what we're doing and to pay rent
So,
for that facility.
the worst that we're gonna see is one truck, June 1st. And we'll go from there, and we need to put something together that the town and the county agrees to, when do y'all want me to begin to do that?
Sooner the better.
June first or April.
What day is it?
Wednesday.
June 8th sounds good. Yeah, we want to get that. One more motion. Second. Anybody? All in favor? Anybody opposed?
That's your name, Woody.
June 8th, yes, sir.
What time?
10 o'clock.
So Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
Here.
You got some public comment, Woody?
Yeah, we can open the floor for a couple of minutes apiece. Adam?
First thing I want to do is thank Ricky White. Ricky has done just what he said. He's done everything he said and more. So thank you, Ricky. You've been fantastic. The people have done a great job, and we're proud of you. What we have is a problem, like Commissioner Richardson said, that's been caused by violence monopoly. We have a situation where our hospital is closed through fraud, and now we have 4 individuals that are so self-serving that they would deny you a hospital. We have the money, the certificate of need, and they are denying this community, this entire area, a hospital. And they have supporters out there that are saying that maybe that's okay. It's not okay. This area needs 2 ambulances. Does anybody know why we have 2 ambulances? It's because the hospital closed. So the county, Mr. John Pat's not here, decided we needed a 2nd ambulance. I wonder why. They would have thought went into that. So the reason we have a 2nd ambulance is because we needed one. A first responder does not replace an ambulance. The golden hour with strokes and heart attacks and people that need blood, these big accidents we have, even a simple snake bite, these people need to be in the emergency room as fast as possible. Having the first call out and the 2nd call be somebody who's trying to get over here from Bath or halfway between here and Bath or whatever, is adding time to everyone that needs an emergency room in this area. So we're not accomplishing things. Are we better than having 1 ambulance and no first responder to back it up? Yeah, we'd be better with a first responder than just having 1 ambulance. But right now we have 2 ambulances. In town, our call response time was, I think, like 4.5 minutes. It's incredibly quick. We're going to throw all that in the trash can. We're going to take all of our numbers and jack them up. Dr. Boyd always told me, he said, these people keep talking about paramedics, and we don't mean to demean paramedics. Paramedics are wonderful, and they have skills. But a paramedic is not an emergency room. So thinking that a paramedic, and Mr. Fleming, Mr. Pack, they are paramedic fans, and I am too when I need one. But the fact is that paramedic has to be able to take you somewhere. And there's nowhere to take you. They have to take you a half an hour away. That's if you live in Belhaven. If you live east of here, you've got even longer to go. It's a big deal. You know, I'd like to talk with the county about this. I don't know what the difference in the cost is, but 2 intermediate ambulances would serve us better than 1 paramedic and a guy in a chase car running around here. Because we need to get to an emergency room. I talked to an expert about intermediate versus paramedics. With heart, a paramedic can do a little bit more than intermediate. With a stroke, which is the most time-sensitive thing along with a heart attack, the intermediate and paramedic have the same services. Blood, neither one of them can help. Both of them can put a tourniquet on. Diabetes, intermediate and paramedics, the same service. Seizures, paramedics, intermediate, same service. So it's not about this paramedic level so much as it is time getting to the hospital. And that's what Dr. Boyd used to always talk about, that golden hour. If you remember, he passed away from a heart attack. Where could we take him? Where would we take him? Greenville now? There's no help for folks here. And you all live in Washington, most of you looking at me. So I understand. But you need to have some concern for people down here instead of making judgments from Washington for people down here. You need to put some stock in what people down here tell you. I'll tell you something else that's really disturbing. And I do not like lying. And I hope we don't have lying going on here. I know that the county commissioners want to cut us back to one ambulance. Commissioner Belcher here threatened me at the last county commission meeting I was at. If we didn't cough up more money than anybody else in the county, he was going to cut us back to one ambulance. Told me that, did you?
No, I did not.
Yes, you did. You lied right there.
I
You
just
just lied all
made
over
an
me.
agreement to pay 35% and
just
you
lied.
cut it back to 5 cents.
Everybody in this town
The agreement was
knows
in
who's
writing.
telling the truth.
I'm gonna let you stand here and make me like that. And we're not gonna do that. You're not gonna sit here and do that to me.
Second, we got a situation where Mr. Flynn just put up, we had 132 calls, January 1st through May 10th. 132 calls. You know how many calls we actually had? 283. More than twice the amount of calls that they put up. Caroline, you need to get that. You need to see if I'm lying or if they're lying. Somebody's not telling the truth. And that's the county commissioners and this board, not this board so much, but the folks that have interest for the county trying to skew the information to justify one ambulance. That's a fact. Mr. Fleming came up tonight and talked about reducing response times. Everything he talked about increases response times for everybody in this area. He stood up here and told everybody this decreases response time. That decreases response time. Nothing he talked about decreases response times from now with 2 ambulances. So not only did he say that, but he also had his numbers more than twice off from what they should be. Another thing is the amount of second calls. Last year, approximately, there are 800 calls in Belhaven and surrounding area. 141 are my numbers. I'm going to trust my numbers over yours. 141 calls were second ambulance calls. So we're going to have, last year we had 141 people that needed the second ambulance, and now we're going to get a paramedic come out who's waiting on an ambulance. How long is it going to take for the ambulance to get there? Rob Godley just passed away here Saturday night or so, just recently. Do you know he called in and it took 2 hours to get to him? Had a diabetic situation and passed away. So they don't come right away. There's things that are out there. There's problems that cause delays. I was at a county commissioners meeting, the last one I was at, and Jerry Langley asked me for proof that people pass away for no emergency. These are the people that are determining how many ambulances we have. Anybody ever heard of a code blue? Code blue, everybody heard of that? Well, when you're in a hospital and you hear code blue, that means everybody on that floor heads to some person who's in trouble. And they run. They don't walk. They don't stop and get a drink. They run. The reason they run is because somebody's dying. Well, that happens out here. That happens on Pungo Street. Somebody's dying. And instead of having an ambulance here to get to them, we're waiting for somebody to come from BJ's over at Sydney or from wherever it is. We're increasing response times. There's also been a talk of moving the rescue to Pantego. Frankie Borders, our county commissioner, who's supposed to be representing us, is spearheading, trying to push it to Pantego, which will increase response times again. So are these folks about the community and the citizens, or are they playing games? They talk about Belhaven pay. They talk, the county manager talked about Belhaven. If we pay for a second ambulance, they provide it. Well, who would that second ambulance service? Just Belhaven? Should the Belhaven taxpayers be paying for people in Pantego and Pungo and everywhere else to have a rescue squad? That's their thinking. When we looked at the cost we were paying for rescue, we found out it was about 12 cents property taxes, basically, that we were paying. The amount of money we were paying was equal to a 12-cent property tax on the citizens of Belhaven for rescue. Do you know what the highest anybody else in the county was paying? 5 cents. 5 cents. You know what Bath was paying? 0. Actually, the county was even paying them money, paying $1,133 a month to house the rescues.
They were making money off rescue. Pantego, you know what they pay? They just told me, nothing. So they want us to increase taxes on people in Belhaven to take care of people in Pantego that aren't paying a dime. But that's fair. They think that's fair. That's not fair. Somebody has to stand up for the people in Belhaven. What am I supposed to do knowing all these things? What would you want me to do? I got to say something. We're being overrun. Comparing us to Aurora is also another fallacy. We have a lot more people here than Aurora has. And we have a huge geographical area. Their population is pretty dense around in the rural, we're pretty close to Aurora and then down to the shoreline. Well, over here we've got a much bigger area. We've got more concerns. You know, the thing is, the people have got to stand up and say something, because the county is not going to represent you. I can tell, I've been mayor here for 11 years. All right, they take advantage of us on everything we do in the county. We just had a situation with the Chamber of Commerce where they turned on the town, been trying to be used for politics, and the county now starting to give them money to fund them. Is that incredible? So if we don't have a friend in the county, I don't expect anything to come from the county except for the minimum they do other places, because they don't treat us fair. You've got a board here, if they took a vote whether you need to get rid of that second ambulance, it's going to be in favor of keeping 2 ambulances. Does the county care that a local board in this area supports 2 ambulances? Does the county care? The answer to that is no. Once again, saying that for $220,000 or whatever, we can provide another ambulance or another chaser or whatever it was, that is so wrong. Do you all not see that you're asking the people of Belhaven to pay for other people's services? We don't have a big budget. We've lost a hospital. We've lost 100 jobs. This town over here is having a tough time. Why doesn't the county just do what's right? We need 2 ambulances. We're going to need 2 ambulances until that hospital reopens. The other thing the county can do is help reopen that hospital by talking to those 4 people and asking them what's wrong with them. Because we have 4 people, 4 individuals that are depriving 15,000 to 20,000 people of emergency room services. They've got blood on their hands. They got blood on their hands. They may not realize it, want to think about it, they got blood on their hands. People are dying due to those 4 people. And it's just a sad situation. So I come forward because, number 1, your numbers are wrong. You need to get your numbers straight. Carolina, please ask you to check so your numbers are right. How many calls we had down here? Because would it make a difference to the board if the numbers were twice what was presented to you? More than twice? And why would the numbers be less than half of what the real numbers were? That concerns me. Why would the EMS director stand up here and tell us he's reducing response times when he's raising them? These are concerns I have to bring to you. I've got other things I'd like to do this morning. I'm still the mayor of Belhaven. I'm going to come up here and represent the people. The people of Belhaven need 2 rescue squads. There's no doubt about it. And we need to figure out a way to make it happen.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none. Any other business we need to put in front of the group? Mr. Bell?